The gunshot echoed through the fog before Amara even saw the warehouse. She froze on her delivery bike, heart hammering, finger hovering over the navigation app that had led her to this abandoned fish processing plant near Busan's industrial docks. Another shot. Then silence, thick and suffocating. She should leave. Every survival instinct screamed at her to turn around, pedal back to her tiny Gozawon room, forget the 200,000 delivery order that was obviously fake. But 3 years in Korea had taught her that sometimes opportunities came wrapped in danger, and she needed everyone she could scrape together. Amara dismounted, her breath forming clouds in the October cold. The warehouse loomed ahead, rusted metal and broken windows. She pulled out her phone, ready to call the police, when she heard it. A baby crying. Then another. No, 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 she whispered, running toward the sound before her brain could stop her body. Behind a stack of shipping containers, she found him. A man in an expensive black coat, collapsed against the concrete, blood pooling beneath him. But it wasn't the blood that made her gasp. It was the 2 infant carriers beside him, both babies wailing into the night, and the gun still gripped in his trembling hand. His eyes snapped open, dark and sharp despite the pallor of his skin. The gun rose, pointing directly at her chest. Don't. His voice was rough, Korean accent pure Busan. Don't come closer. But Amara was already moving, her nursing training overriding fear. You're bleeding out. Lower the gun or die. Your choice. Who sent you? Quick dash delivery service, she said, kneeling despite the weapon aimed at her. And God, apparently, because those babies need you alive. She switched to English without thinking. Gunshot wound, left side, possible liver involvement. How long ago? His eyes widened at the English, then at her hands already pressing against his wound. The gun lowered slightly. 20 minutes. Maybe 30. Then you're lucky and stupid. She ripped open his shirt, revealing not just the wound but intricate tattoos covering his entire torso. Numbers, coordinates, symbols she didn't understand. What are you, a walking treasure map? Something like that. He coughed, blood on his lips. They want what's written on me. They'll kill the children to get it. One of the babies screamed louder, and Amara's heart twisted. She looked at the man, really looked at him. Mid-30s, expensive watch, tattoos that meant something in the criminal world she'd carefully avoided since arriving in Korea. But his eyes, fixed on those crying infants, held something she recognized. Desperate love. What are their names? She asked, applying pressure to his wound with one hand while reaching for the nearest carrier with the other. Mina and Jay. His voice cracked. Please. If I die, take them somewhere safe. You're not dying tonight. Amara pulled off her jacket, wadded it against his wound. But I need you conscious and moving. Can you stand? Why are you helping me? She met his eyes, this stranger who might get her killed. Because I didn't study nursing for 3 years to watch someone bleed out in front of babies. Now stand up, or I'm leaving you here. It was a lie. She couldn't leave those children. With her support, he made it to his feet, swaying. She grabbed both carriers, impossibly heavy, her delivery bike suddenly looking pathetically small. But Amara had carried her 4 younger siblings across Lagos during fuel shortages. She'd figure this out. What's your name? She asked, helping him onto the bike's rack while balancing the carriers. Jinho. He gripped her shoulder as she started pedaling. And you're either very brave or very stupid. Both, probably. The bike wobbled under their combined weight. Hold on to those babies. If you drop them, I'll finish what that bullet started. The ride to her Gozawon was 10 minutes of hell. Jinho's blood soaked through her shirt. The babies cried. Every shadow looked like an attacker. But her legs, strong from months of delivery work, kept pumping. Her building was a rundown stack of single rooms in Koryangdong, home to foreign workers and people pretending not to see each other's struggles. Perfect for staying invisible. She practically dragged Jinho up 3 flights of stairs, grabbed both carriers, and kicked open her door. The room was barely 3 meters square. A mattress on the floor, a hot plate, a closet, a tiny bathroom. Her entire life in Korea compressed into a space meant for sleep, not living. She shoved boxes aside and laid Jinho on her mattress. "I need supplies," she said, already pulling out the emergency medical kit she'd assembled from her nursing school days. "And you need to talk. Who shot you? Who's coming?" Jinho's eyes followed her as she worked, cleaning the wound, checking for exit wounds. "You speak Korean like you were born here. 3 years is enough to learn. Answer my question." "Rivals. My organization controls shipping routes, legitimate and otherwise. I was supposed to meet my second-in-command tonight, but someone sold me out." He winced as she probed the wound. "The tattoos contain access codes, account numbers, locations of assets worth billions. 80 years of accumulated power written on my skin. And the babies." His face softened, pain replaced briefly by something tender. "Mina is mine. Jay was my brother's before he died. I adopted him." His hand reached toward the carriers where both infants had finally quieted. "Succession laws in my organization say only blood heirs can inherit. They want to kill Jay, use him as leverage, or both." Amara's hands stilled. She looked at this man, this criminal, seeing only a father terrified for his children. It reminded her of her own father, working 3 jobs in Lagos to keep them fed. "The bullet went through," she said finally. "Missed major organs, but you've lost a lot of blood. You need a hospital. I need to stay alive long enough to get them somewhere safe." Jinho tried to sit up, fell back. "You should leave. Take whatever money you want from my wallet and disappear. When they find me, anyone here dies." Instead, Amara checked on the babies. Both were sleeping now, peaceful despite the chaos. Mina had Jinho's nose. Jay had the longest eyelashes she'd ever seen on an infant. "When do they eat next?" she asked. 2 hours. Maybe less. Jinho's eyes were closing. "There's formula in the bag. Bottles. Stay awake." She snapped her fingers in front of his face. "You have a concussion or just blood loss?" "Both, probably." His eyes focused on her. "You're Nigerian. Is that a problem?" "No," a ghost of a smile. "You're just the last person I expected to save my life tonight." Amara prepared bottles, her hands shaking now that the adrenaline was fading. "I didn't save you yet. And I still don't know why I'm doing this." "Because you're good." Jinho's voice was fading. "Better than you should be in a world like this." She turned to argue, to tell him he didn't know anything about her, about the things she'd run from in Lagos, the fresh start she'd been building. But he was unconscious, chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. Amara sat on the floor between the mattress and the carriers, her phone in her hand. She should call the police, an ambulance, someone. Instead, she found herself reaching into Mina's carrier, letting the baby's tiny fingers wrap around hers. "What have I gotten myself into?" she whispered. As if in answer, her phone buzzed. "Unknown number." She answered without thinking. "You have something that belongs to us." The voice was female, cold. "Return it, and you might live through the night." The line went dead. Amara stared at her phone, ice flooding her veins. They knew. Already. She'd been in this room for less than 30 minutes and they'd found her. Jinho's eyes snapped open. "Who was that?" "A woman. Said I have something that belongs to them." Amara's voice shook. "How did they get my number?" "Your delivery app." Jinho pushed himself up, his face gray with pain. "They set the trap with a fake order. They've been tracking you since you accepted it." He grabbed her wrist, his grip surprisingly strong. "Listen to me carefully. In my coat pocket, there's a phone. Red case. Call the first contact. His name is Sang-woo." She found the phone, hands trembling. 1 ring. 2. "Boss." A male voice. Urgent. It's not him, Amara said. He's hurt. We're at. Jinho snatched the phone. Sang-woo. Koryangdong, Building 6, Room 312. We have maybe 20 minutes before they triangulate our location. Bring medical supplies, weapons, and a clean vehicle. He paused, looking at Amara. And bring trust. I'm with someone who saved my life. He ended the call just as Mina started crying. Amara moved automatically, lifting the baby, checking her diaper, grabbing a prepared bottle. The normalcy of it, the weight of an infant in her arms while a bleeding crime boss planned their escape, felt surreal. You're good with them, Jinho observed, watching her feed Mina. 5 younger siblings. I practically raised them. Amara kept her eyes on the baby. My mother died when I was 12. My father worked constantly. So I learned. Is that why you came to Korea? To escape being everyone's mother? She looked up sharply. I came for nursing school. Better opportunities. A chance to be more than what Lagos expected of me. And instead you're stuck with a criminal and 2 babies. Jinho's laugh was bitter. Some opportunity. I haven't decided if I'm stuck yet. But even as she said it, watching Jay start to fuss in his carrier, she knew it was a lie. She couldn't leave them. Not these helpless children, not even this infuriating man who dragged danger to her doorstep. A knock at the door. 3 sharp raps. Pause. 2 more. That's Sang-woo, Jinho said, trying to stand. Let him in. Amara put Mina down carefully and approached the door, her heart racing. How do I know it's really him? Because if it wasn't, they'd have already kicked the door down. She opened it to find a man in his 40s, compact and efficient-looking, carrying 2 large bags. His eyes swept the room, landing on Jinho, then on her. His expression hardened. Who is she? The woman who kept me alive. Jinho's voice held warning. Treat her with respect. Sang-woo entered, closed the door, immediately started unpacking medical supplies far beyond what Amara had managed. We have a problem. Yuna has turned half the organization against you. She's offering 3 million won for proof of your death, 2 million for your capture. She wants the codes. Yuna? Amara asked, taking the supplies Sang-woo handed her. Who's that? My ex-wife. Jinho's voice was flat. And apparently, my successor if I die tonight. Amara's hands stilled while cleaning his wound properly. Your ex-wife is trying to kill you? She wants power. The children are obstacles. Jinho looked at his babies, something fierce and protective crossing his face. She argued Jay shouldn't be recognized as my heir. Said adoption doesn't count in the old laws. When I refused to abandon him, she left. Started building her own faction. That's insane. That's the life. Sang-woo was checking weapons, loading magazines with practiced efficiency. We need to move. This location is compromised. I have a safe house in Haeundae, waterfront, secure. Can I just point out, Amara said, stitching Jinho's wound with steady hands despite her racing pulse, that I'm a delivery driver? I'm not equipped for gang warfare. I have 43,000 won in my bank account and a nursing degree I never finished. This is not my world. Jinho caught her hand as she reached for more gauze. His fingers were warm, calloused. Then walk away. Sang-woo will give you money, help you disappear. You've done more than anyone could expect. She should take the offer. Every rational part of her brain screamed to take the money and run. But she looked at Mina, sleeping peacefully now, and Jay, whose tiny hand had wrapped around her finger earlier, and she thought of her own siblings. Of being 12 years old and suddenly responsible for 4 children because the world didn't care about fair. If I leave, what happens to them? I protect them, Jinho said simply. Until I can't anymore. That's not good enough. Amara finished the stitches, tied them off with more force than necessary. They deserve better than a father who might not survive the week. Then what do you suggest? There was something raw in his voice, something that sounded almost like hope. Amara stood, began packing the baby's things with efficient movements. I suggest we get them somewhere safe. I suggest you heal. And I suggest you explain to me exactly what these tattoos mean, because if I'm risking my life, I want to know what for. Sang-woo made a sound that might have been approval. I like her. So do I, Jin-ho said quietly, his eyes not leaving Amara's face. More than I probably should after knowing her for an hour. Heat crawled up Amara's neck. She focused on checking the diaper bag, avoiding his gaze. Don't get attached. I'm helping you because of them, not you. Liar. But he was smiling, just a little, despite the pain. They moved fast after that. Sang-woo carried both babies, Amara supported Jin-ho, and they took the back stairs to avoid the building's lone security camera. The car was sleek, black, windows tinted. Amara had never been in anything so expensive. Buckle them in tight, Sang-woo instructed as she secured the carriers in the back seat. If we're followed, I'll need to drive aggressively. If you crash with these babies in the car, I'll kill you myself, Amara warned. Sang-woo actually grinned. Definitely like her. They pulled into traffic, the city lights of Busan streaming past. Amara sat between the two carriers, her hands resting on each one, protective. Jin-ho was in the passenger seat, watching her in the rearview mirror. Thank you, he said softly. Don't thank me yet. We're not safe. As if summoning disaster with her words, headlights blazed behind them. Close. Too close. Company, Sang-woo said calmly, accelerating. Everyone hold on. The car behind them rammed their bumper. Mina started screaming. Amara braced the carriers with her body, her heart in her throat, as Sang-woo swerved onto the highway, and their nightmare truly began. If you're enjoying this story, hit that subscribe button now because this is only the beginning, and trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Drop a like if you're already hooked. Sang-woo cut across 3 lanes of traffic, the car behind them matching every move. Amara held both carriers steady, her body a human shield, whispering prayers in Igbo that her grandmother had taught her. The babies screamed, and her heart shattered with every cry. Lose them. Jin-ho gripped the dashboard, his wound bleeding through the fresh bandages. Working on it. Sang-woo took an exit ramp at dangerous speed, tires squealing. The pursuing car followed, now joined by a second vehicle. We've got 2 on us. Maybe more ahead. They plunged into the narrow streets of Haeundae, residential buildings blurring past. Sang-woo killed the headlights, making a series of rapid turns that threw Amara against the door. She kept the carriers stable through sheer determination, her arms burning. There. Sang-woo pointed to an underground parking garage. He drove in fast, descended 2 levels, then backed into a dark corner behind a support column and shut off the engine. Silence, except for the babies crying and their ragged breathing. They'll search building by building, Jin-ho said. We have maybe 10 minutes. The safe house is 2 blocks from here. Sang-woo was already texting. I'm calling in our security team, but they need 20 minutes to mobilize. We don't have 20 minutes. Amara was checking the babies, relieved to find them physically unharmed, just terrified. Join them. We need a plan that doesn't involve more car chases with infants. Jin-ho turned to look at her, his face pale in the dim light. You can still leave. Take the side exit, walk away. This isn't your fight. Stop saying that. Amara's voice was sharp. Every time you tell me to leave, it makes me want to stay more just to prove you wrong. Despite everything, he smiled. Stubborn. Practical. Someone needs to keep these babies alive, and you 2 are clearly terrible at it. She lifted Jay, who was hiccuping from crying, and held him close. Besides, I didn't stitch you up just to watch you bleed out in round 2. Boss, Sang-woo interrupted, his voice tense. We have a bigger problem. I just got word. Chidi Okonkwo is on Yuna's payroll. He's been feeding them information. Amara's world stopped. What? Your brother, Sangwoo said, and there was genuine sympathy in his eyes. He's been working with them for 3 months. Immigration trouble. Debt. They pressured him. No, Amara's voice was barely a whisper. No, Chidi wouldn't. He's in Seoul. He works at a restaurant. He sends money home. He's in Busan as of 4 hours ago. Sangwoo showed her his phone. Security footage of her brother, clear as day, talking to a woman in an expensive coat. That's Yuna. He likely gave them your delivery route, your address, everything. The baby in her arms felt suddenly heavier. Chidi. Her older brother who'd followed her to Korea last year, promising to do better, to leave behind the gambling debts and bad decisions. She'd believed him because she always believed him, even when he disappointed her over and over. Did he know? Her voice cracked. Did he know they'd try to kill us? That there were babies? I don't know, Sangwoo admitted. Jinho reached back, his hand finding her knee. I'm sorry. Don't. She pulled away from his touch, anger and hurt warring inside her. Don't apologize for my brother's choices. But tears were sliding down her face, hot and bitter. He promised me. When he came to Korea, he promised he was done with this life. Family is complicated, Jinho said softly. Trust me, I know. They sat in the dark garage for another minute. Then Sangwoo's phone buzzed. He read the message and cursed. They found the garage. We need to move now. This time they went on foot. Sangwoo carried both babies. Jinho leaned heavily on Amara, and they emerged onto a side street, moving through shadows. The safe house was a modern apartment building, all glass and steel, facing the beach. Wrong place for hiding, Amara thought, but maybe that was the point. The apartment was on the 12th floor, spacious and sterile. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the ocean, dark and endless. Sangwoo immediately started checking rooms, securing entrances, while Amara helped Jinho to a couch. Let me see your wound. He lifted his shirt, and she saw blood seeping through. You tore the stitches during the chase. I've had worse. Stop trying to be tough. She gathered fresh supplies from Sangwoo's bag. You're no good to those babies dead. As she worked, redoing the stitches by lamplight, Jinho watched her face. Why nursing? You could have studied anything. My mother died from an infection that could have been treated. Simple antibiotics, but we couldn't afford them. The clinic was too far. Amara's hands were steady despite her shaking voice. I decided then that I'd learn to save people. That I'd never be helpless like that again. And yet here you are, helpless in a different way. No, she met his eyes. I'm choosing to help. That's different from being helpless. He caught her hand as she finished the last stitch. Amara. The way he said her name, soft and wondering, made her breath catch. What? If we survive this, I want to know everything about you. Every story, every dream you had before tonight. That's a big if. Then let's make it a when. He pulled her closer, his other hand coming up to cup her face. When we survive this. She should pull away. This man was dangerous, criminal, everything she'd tried to avoid. But his thumb was stroking her cheek, and his eyes held something that looked almost like reverence, and she was so tired of being alone in this country where she was always foreign, always other. This is a terrible idea, she whispered. The best ones usually are. He leaned in, giving her time to pull back, but she didn't. Their lips met, soft at first, then deeper. He tasted like blood and desperation, and something that felt dangerously like hope. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Sangwoo cleared his throat from across the room. Not to interrupt, but we have incoming. Amara jumped up, embarrassed, but Jinho kept hold of her hand. How many? 6 vehicles. Maybe 20 men. They're surrounding the building. Sangwoo was at the window with binoculars. Yuna's leading them personally. She wants to be sure this time. Jinho stood, wincing. How long until our team arrives? 15 minutes. We won't last 15 minutes if they breach this door. Jinho looked at Amara. There's a panic room. Reinforced steel. Separate ventilation. Take the babies there and lock yourself in. What about you? Sang-woo and I will hold them off. With what? You can barely stand. And there's 2 of you against 20. Then pray we're good at math. He touched her face again, brief and tender. Please. Keep them safe. The lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. From below, they heard the first gunshots, then shouting. The attack had begun. Sang-woo threw a phone to Amara. Panic room is through the master bedroom. Hidden panel behind the closet. Code is 0727. Lock it and don't open for anyone but us. She grabbed both carriers, her muscles screaming, and ran. Behind her, she heard Jinho and Sang-woo taking positions, checking weapons. The apartment had become a war zone, and she was running through it with 2 crying babies, praying to every god she'd ever learned about. The panic room was exactly as described. Small, windowless, stocked with supplies. She got both babies inside, locked the door, and sank to the floor, holding them close. Outside, the gunfire intensified. She heard shouting, crashes, explosions that shook the walls. And through it all, she held Mina and Jay, singing that Nigerian lullaby her mother had sung, wondering if she'd ever see Jinho alive again, and hating herself for caring so much about a man she'd known for only hours. 20 minutes felt like 20 hours. The gunfire had stopped 5 minutes ago, replaced by a silence that terrified her more than the noise. Amara held both babies, who'd finally cried themselves to sleep, and stared at the locked door. 3 knocks. Pause. 2 more. Amara, it's me. Open up. Jinho's voice. She scrambled to the panel, punched in the code with shaking fingers. The door slid open, and there he was, covered in blood, some his, some not. Behind him, Sang-woo looked equally battered, and between them stood someone new. Her brother. Chidi. Her voice broke on his name. Ada M., he whispered, using the Igbo word for sister. His hands were zip-tied, his face bruised. I'm so sorry. You sold us out. The words tasted like ash. You told them where I lived. You helped them hunt us. They threatened to deport me, to tell immigration I was working illegally. I owed money to the wrong people. Tears streamed down his face. I didn't know about the babies. I swear, Amara, I didn't know they'd try to kill you. Yuna said they just needed information on Jinho's location, that it was business. And you believed her? Amara's anger was cold, contained. You believed the woman paying you thousands of won just wanted information? I was desperate. We're all desperate, Chidi. That's not an excuse to betray family. Jinho stepped forward, his hand gentle on her shoulder. He showed up during the fight. Turned on Yuna's men, helped us. Took a bullet for Sang-woo. She looked at her brother's side, seeing the blood-soaked shirt. You're hurt. I deserved worse. Chidi's eyes were hollow. Yuna has more men coming. 40, maybe 50. She's calling in everyone. This building won't hold. Then we leave, Sang-woo said. My team secured vehicles in the underground garage. We can make it to the mountain safe house, regroup there. No, Jinho's voice was firm. Running only delays this. Yuna won't stop. The council won't intervene as long as they think she might win. We need to end this tonight. How? Amara asked, though part of her already knew. I call an emergency council meeting. Force them to choose. Her or me. New way or old way. He looked at his children, sleeping in her arms. I'm tired of running. I'm tired of this life where my children aren't safe. They'll kill you the moment you show up, Sang-woo protested. Maybe. Or maybe they'll listen. Jinho turned to Amara. I need you to come with me. What? Why? Because you saved my life. Because you protected my children when my own organization failed. Because you're proof that the old ways are broken. He took her hand. I'm asking you to stand with me. To show them that loyalty isn't about blood or tradition. It's about choice. I'm a delivery driver from Nigeria. I have no power in your world. You have more power than you know. His eyes were intense. You walked into danger for strangers. You stitched me up when you should have run. You're stronger than half the men on that council. Let me show them that. Amara looked at Mina and Jay, then at Chidi, bleeding and broken, then back at Jinho. This wasn't her world. This wasn't what she came to Korea for. But maybe sometimes the life you built chose you, not the other way around. If I do this, things change. Not just for you. For everyone. I'm counting on it. The council met in a traditional hanok in the mountains north of Busan. 12 men, old and young, sitting around a low table. The room smelled of incense and secrets. They looked at Amara like she was an insect that had wandered in from outside. Jinho stood, one arm around her, the other holding Jay while she held Mina. A family, broken and strange, but a family. I call this council to order under emergency protocols, he said. Yuna has violated every code we hold sacred. She's endangered children, turned brother against brother, and hired outsiders to kill one of our own. An older man scoffed. And you bring an outsider here? A foreign woman to our sacred meeting. This woman saved my life. Saved my heir. She has more honor than some sitting at this table. The door burst open. Yuna entered, flanked by 4 armed men. She was beautiful in a cold way, designer clothes and perfect makeup even now. Her eyes found Amara and narrowed. So this is your solution? A Nigerian delivery driver. Yuna's laugh was cruel. You always did have poor taste in women, Jinho. Better than a traitor. Jinho's voice was steel. You tried to kill children, Yuna. Our code may be old, but it's never been that broken. The code says only blood heirs inherit. That boy isn't yours. She pointed at Jay. He's an obstacle to legitimate succession. He's my son. Jinho's roar echoed through the room. I chose him. I love him. That makes him mine more than any DNA. 3 council members stood, moving to flank Yuna. Amara's heart sank. Half the council had already chosen. But then Sangwoo entered, followed by 20 armed men. The vote is mine to cast too, he said quietly. And I cast it for change. For a world where we don't sacrifice children for power. This is treason, one of Yuna's supporters hissed. No, Amara spoke for the first time, her voice clear and strong. This is evolution. I'm nobody in your world. I have no stake in your power or your money. But I know what I see. A man who loves his children enough to risk everything. A system so broken it would kill innocence to maintain tradition. You can choose to grow, or you can die in your old ways. But you will choose tonight. Silence. Then the oldest council member, a man who looked carved from stone, stood. He walked to Jinho, looked at both babies, then at Amara. She speaks truth we've been avoiding. The old code dies here, tonight. He turned to Yuna. You violated everything sacred. You're expelled. Yuna's face twisted with rage. She reached for a gun, but Jinho was faster. 1 shot. Clean. Final. She fell, and 3 of her supporters moved. They didn't make it far. Sangwa's men were efficient. In the aftermath, the council voted. 9-0, with 3 vacant seats. New leadership. New rules. Children protected regardless of blood. Modernization over tradition. 3 months later, Amara stood in a high-rise apartment in Marine City, Mina on her hip while she reviewed shipping contracts. Her Korean was perfect now. Her nursing degree, finally finished through online courses. She was studying the organization's books, finding ways to legitimize their operations, to build something that didn't require blood. Jinho came up behind her, wrapping his arms around them both. You know, I never thanked you properly for saving my life. You've thanked me every day for 3 months. Not enough. He turned her to face him, his eyes soft. Marry me. Amara laughed. That's the worst proposal I've ever heard. Marry me, he repeated, pulling out a ring. Not because of the organization or the babies or obligation. Marry me because somewhere between that warehouse and this moment, I fell completely in love with you. She looked at the ring, at his hopeful face, at Mina grabbing for the shiny object, at Jay playing on the floor nearby. Her family. Strange and complicated and nothing like she'd planned. Yes, she whispered. But I'm keeping my last name. I wouldn't expect anything less. They kissed while Mina laughed between them, and outside the window, Busan stretched out in all its chaotic beauty, a city of second chances and unexpected futures. Amara had come here to disappear, to escape her past. Instead, she'd found something worth building a life around. Sometimes the best stories are the ones you never saw coming. If you made it to the end of this story, drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from. I want to know how far this story traveled. Hit that like button if you felt the emotions, subscribe if you want more stories like this, and share it with someone who loves a good romance thriller. What would you have done in Amara's position? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, remember that sometimes the greatest adventures begin with a single choice to help a stranger.